Hello, glorious beauties. I am Dragonflow, aka Frank, and this is my beautiful Bernese Mountain Dog and co-host Ozzy the Dog. So today's video that I want to make is about making peace with the relationship that your parents had. I just want to give you an idea of the relationship my parents had. Even though my parents were married for I think it was 53 years, they had a very, very bumpy relationship, as most parents tend to have. I've mentioned in prior videos, my dad used to have epileptic seizures, and so he wasn't always understandable. He was also lacking in the openness department, so it made it very easy to be argumentative with him. He had some artistic traits. He used to repeat himself a lot. My mother was like bubbly, kind of, a coquettish girl, like to dress nice and go out and have jewelry and all that stuff. They were really from two different worlds. And the reason they got married is basically because at the time in their culture, you kind of knew each other like 30 to 60 days, and boom, you got hitched. So my dad went to Sicily, he met my mom, and within 30 days they were married, and my mom was 16 years old. So, it's pretty young to get married at 16. So my mom kind of never got to grow up and do things that you do like when you're coming of age. If she would have got married maybe at 22, 23, it might have still been on the young side, but that 4 to 6 years would have given her a lot of maturity, a lot of different experiences. But she was very young when she got married. So my mother and my dad had a very kind of contentious, argumentative relationship. I remember they used to fight and argue very regularly. And so this played a lot on my psyche. And I would always think it's just like, why would I get into a relationship? Like, this is what I have to look forward to. I remember thinking this when I was very young. Like, I was like 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. Like, I'd like girls, but I would be kind of like, no, I'm not going to go for it because we're going to end up arguing and fighting and so on and so forth. And in fact, in the beginning phases, when I would date girls, if we'd have an argument, I would ignore them the same way my mom would ignore me, the same way my mom would ignore my dad. And so, I was repeating the paradigm, I was repeating the pattern. And then at some point, much, much later, probably in my early 30s, even mid 30s, it dawned on me that I didn't need to have this type of relationship with the girls I was with. So let's say I had this one girlfriend, her name was Mariam. That was kind of the nicest relationship I had. It lasted 3.5 years. There was a lot of communication. If we argued, we made sure we resolved the argument pretty quickly. We didn't fight about nonsensical things. And when we broke up, it was a peaceful breakup. There was nothing ill-willed in it. It was just sort of over. So what I ask you to do in this video is to kind of analyze the relationship that your parents had and how this plays into the way you view yourself in relationship and what patterns you are personally repeating in your relationships that you saw in your household growing up. Now, there's obviously going to be some things you learned if your parents had a healthy relationship that are going to bring your current relationship forward and give you a happy, positive experience. However, there's negative things that you learned that you might not be conscious of and that you're replicating with the women or the men in your current life right now. And so you're not really being your best self because you're propagating something that didn't work out for your parents and wasn't working out for you emotionally growing up. So it's actually not going to work for your relationship, and it's not going to work for your kids or the people in your household when they're growing up. So like I said in prior videos, I believe in journaling. I want you to take a journal and jot down all the positive things that you saw your parents do for you. Maybe they left you some generational wealth. Maybe they were they inspired you to have grit and work hard and study hard. Maybe because of your parents, if they were immigrants, you learned a second or a third language. You learned how to cook in a foreign cuisine. Whatever, you figure out what it is that was positive about your parents' relationship and how it shaped you while you were coming of age. And then ultimately you have to acknowledge and write down and jot down the negative things that happened in your parents' relationship so that you don't continue this ancestral drama and trauma into the future. So you want to take these negative things and you want to address them and be like, okay, what do I do that my dad does in relationship? What do I do that my mom does in relationships? How do I behave to recreate the relationship my parents had in a negative way? And then you do your best to address and evolve from that paradigm. And when needed, you break that paradigm and create a whole new paradigm. The goal here, and it's very hard, is to find your original blueprint. Like you were born not a blank slate, because nobody's born a blank slate, but you were born with an original blueprint. And you want to get as true to that original blueprint as possible, while at the same time adding sophistication and knowledge to that blueprint. So most people in their natural blueprint are not particularly constantly aggressing and argumentative. They're not constantly looking for conflict. They're not constantly to be at odds with the opposite sex. So just go back to this natural blueprint and try and evolve from who you really are and get rid of all the emotional scars that were caused by whatever your parents raised you like. So get rid of all the emotional scars from the relationship your parents had and you saw them have. So that's it for today. I hope I articulated my ideas well, and I wish you an amazing weekend. Namaste.